Welcome to this Local Rogers Update. I'm Tina Avery, and joining us today, Solicitor General, the Honourable Sylvia Jones. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to be with us today.
No, my pleasure, Tina. Thank you for asking.
Well, let's get right into it. In a recent announcement, you mentioned that the Ontario government is providing $30 million to build a safer, more reliable transportation system that will help keep the goods moving and better connect the municipalities through the province. Will any of this money be directed to Dufferin County?
It will actually. I had the pleasure of talking to Mayor Wade Mills in Shelburne about something non-COVID related, and that was to share the good news that almost $490,000 would be flowed to the town of Shelburne to rebuild some of the roads related to the connecting link.
That is absolutely wonderful. And I know recently the announcement that Doug Ford made that we are in phase one of reopening the province. Could you tell us a little bit about these changes and what we're doing moving forward?
Absolutely. So as we see the numbers decrease province-wide, what we have put in place is a phased-in approach to reopening, allowing people more access to things like seasonal businesses. Of course, we're all very happy to be able to get out into our gardens now that the weather is finally turning warm. So the garden centers, the nursery centers have now reopened to the public. Many of the businesses that offer curbside, so if you have a street entrance, you can now open. Now, I will say that while the province has loosened the restrictions and allowed those businesses to reopen, we can in no way compel them to open. So each individual business owner will work with their employees and figure out the best way to serve their customers and keep them safe. So in some cases, that means that only a certain number of individuals will be allowed in the store or the garden center at one time. And I think that's a really good way to ensure that we continue to flatten the curve, because as much as we want to be out and recirculating and visiting our friends and family, we are still seeing some numbers go up, and we have to make sure that we do everything we can to protect people, and that's why we're doing it in a measured, phased-in approach.
And I think that's really important. And we always stress while we're talking on the show about people still following the protocols that are out there with regards to physical distancing and washing your hands. So that being said, are the protocols any different for these new non-essential businesses that are able to open with regards to the safety of the clients and their staff?
Mm-hmm. So the Ministry of Labour has done a really good job of offering guidelines and providing guidelines to businesses so that they have an idea of what they can expect and how some suggestions on how they can protect their employees and their customers. I'm sure you've seen it, where there's now plexiglass in between some of the businesses to protect the customer from the staffing them. The limitations on how many people can be in a business, even the one-way streets, if you may, in some of the grocery stores and the hardware centers, where people are saying, please don't wander back and forth, but do it in a measured way so that you're not constantly crossing paths and breaking that all-important 2 meter 6 feet distance, because that ultimately is how we avoid and try to flatten that spread.
And I think that's really important that we stress that people are still to follow this by releasing and making a small measure to open a few more things up. It's important when you're walking on a trail, when you're in the grocery store, when you're going to one of these new stores, to follow these protocols, because we don't want to hit a second wave. We don't want this to come back at us and then have to move backwards another 4 steps versus moving forwards to get to the other side. And that being said, a lot of talk.
Absolutely.
There's been a lot of talk with regards to the wearing of masks and that sort of thing, and we've established the fact that wearing a mask is protecting others from you, that maybe a carrier, and just being extra safe. Do you feel that wearing masks might become something that's mandatory for people leaving their homes as we progress through these different phases in order to keep everybody safe?
Yeah, we're not at a mandatory stage right now because, frankly, depending on what you're doing, you can keep that 2 meter or 6 feet physical distancing. I try to get out every morning and go for a walk before my day begins, and so far people have been very respectful. If we're going to cross paths on the sidewalk, then one of us will move to the curb. When people are doing that, we don't need to have a mask. The mask is very helpful when we're in places where, frankly, that physical distancing is not possible. So I'm sure you've seen there's a lot more people out and about who are doing their grocery shopping wearing a mask. The medical officer of health and Premier Ford this week recommended that if you cannot ensure the physical distancing guidelines, then have a mask in place. At the very least, it's protecting others, particularly if you are not showing any symptoms. There is a thing called asymptomatic, which is basically you have COVID-19, but you don't know it because you're not showing any signs. Well, allowing that mask, wearing that mask out in public where you can't do the physical distancing piece protects others. So it's very important.
Absolutely. And just a few days ago, Premier Ford announced that the kids will not be returning back to school. How will that affect the students' evaluation, their grading, and ultimately, for some, graduation?
Yeah, so a tough time for parents and for students and for teachers, not to be able to complete that school year in a traditional way. But it all comes back to protecting people. And we cannot have a situation where we have all of these individuals together who cannot do the physical distancing piece. So in terms of graduation, I really feel for the grade 8 students, the grade 12 students who are not going to have that traditional graduation in June. But don't despair. That will be coming in the months to come. Maybe it'll be an October graduation instead of a June, but that celebration of your victory education-wise will still happen. The Minister of Education has actually done a really good job of ramping up opportunities for summer learning for those young people who want to continue moving forward on their education, either through studying another course or shoring up in preparation for college, university, grade 9. In terms of graduation, report cards will still happen. Young people who were slated to graduate will graduate. You're not going to see decreases in marks, and there is an opportunity, of course, with online learning. And I know from being a parent myself that there is lots of reaching out with teachers to students to walk them through any struggles they're having.
And I think that's key too. Is everybody's been so amazingly supportive of the community, the parents, the government, all different levels of municipalities. Just with the fact that we're all trying to get through this, we've never experienced this before, and everything is very fluid and changing. As you are the first one to know, because I'm sure all of these changes are keeping you incredibly busy through this time for sure. Do we know exactly what steps will be in place for the strengthening of learning, or is that still something that is being worked out in the next few months?
So, as I said, there is an expansion of the summer learning program. I mean, we've always had summer school for those who wanted to either get another course or get a better grade on a course that they had taken. That will be ramped up and expanded. I guess what I would leave parents and students with is don't fret. This is not a time to panic about whether your grade is a 70 or a 75. We will get through this, and you will be able to come back in September stronger and be ready to learn. I don't think that anybody should be panicking about whether they're going to be able to finish their year, because that isn't a concern. As I said, the Ministry of Education has put in a number of programs that are already assisting people. I get it. Not everybody has access to the internet. It's not always easy when you have multiple family members working from home and trying to do studying from home. But please don't make it a concern that you should fret over. So everyone will be in the same boat in September, and we will move forward with the new school year there.
Absolutely. And I think the most important thing is that the safety and the health of everyone, including the students, the family, the teachers, and all of the staff that are at the schools at all times. I think that is the most important feature, and we can all work through it and get to the other side. And the goal is to do that with as little loss as possible. So absolutely, it's very important. So I know that assuming that the trends stay the same and things start to slow down and the health indicators still show an improvement. I know Premier Ford mentioned that there's a possibility that the summer day camps may be open. Is that something that would be left up to the choices of the municipalities whether they run that, or is it just a matter of we can open it and everybody can do summer camp? Question.
Excellent question. So just like when we allow businesses to reopen, we do not compel or force them to. So there may be decisions made where a municipality or a local day camp operator chooses not to open for this year for any number of reasons. That is their decision to make. As you said, local municipalities who run day camps will still have to make a decision whether they want to move forward on that. I think that the ability to offer the day camp model will be very valuable, depending again on what it looks like. And I know my children, for one, have always enjoyed the day camp programs offered throughout the area. So I know for a lot of kids, it's something that they would be looking forward to. But ultimately, it would be the choice of the operator, whether that's the municipality, a local church, or a private provider. And unfortunately for this year, no overnight camps. Sorry, kids.
And that is completely understandable. I think when we're talking about dealing with children and the unpredictability of their attention span and whatnot, it's really important that we keep everybody safe. So just on a personal note, please tell us, I mean, I know you're extremely busy, but what are you doing in order to keep sane through all of this?
Starts early and ends late. Lots of phone calls. I think that these are going to have to be surgically removed from my ears at the end of the pandemic. But as I said, I try to start my day with a walk outside just to get myself a little bit of exercise and get my head in the right place. Look, there's a lot of people who are very nervous and have a lot of questions. And I'm very, very proud of the fact that my office and my staff have continued to serve the people of Dufferin Caledon. Call the office if you have a question, 1-800-265-1603. They're there to help, and we try to get questions as quickly as we can.
I want to thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time out of what I assume is an extremely busy schedule, as I've already mentioned, and sharing this information with us. Thank you so much.
All the best. Stay safe, Tina.
You as well. For all of you out there, don't go anywhere. We will be right back. My next guest today is Heather Loney, the Communications and Community Engagement Officer from the Upper Grand District School Board. Heather, thank you so much for coming back on the show to give us an update.
Thank you for having me back.
So I know we know just a few days ago, Doug Ford made an announcement that the kids will not be returning to school. Can you tell us how that will affect the online learning program that we have currently?
Sure. So yes, as you know, on May 19th, the province announced that schools would remain closed for the rest of this school year. So that being said, distance learning will continue for the remainder of this school year, which brings us to the end of June. And we are appreciative that we now have clarity and direction on this. And we also appreciate the government taking a measured and cautious approach to returning to in-class instruction, which is guided by the advice of health officials, because like the ministry, like the province, the safety of our students, our staff, and our families continues to be our top priority as well. So we know that this announcement will be welcome news to many parents who expressed to us that they were worried about the possibility of kids going back this school year amid the pandemic. However, we also know that this period of closure and isolation has been difficult for many families and students. So our teachers and staff will continue to reach out to students, and we encourage families to engage and reach out to schools if they need that additional support as well.
So how will the evaluation grading work now moving forward with this announcement?
So school boards are still waiting on information and direction from the ministry regarding assessment and evaluation. We don't have that yet, but we are expecting details on this soon, perhaps even within a matter of days. So one thing that the ministry has stated is that marks will not go down from what they were on March 13th prior to the school closures. However, marks can improve. So we encourage all students to continue to engage in distance learning where possible, take this as an opportunity to improve their marks.
And I think this is a great opportunity for them to do so because they know where they're sitting as they normally would at a midterm situation.
Right.
But it gives those students that opportunity to do and to take a little bit of extra time, maybe even with their assignments and that sort of thing with regards to doing that. So with that being said, I'm assuming that report cards will be sent out to the students at the end of the school year?
Yes, so all students in kindergarten to grade 12 will receive a final report card, which includes the kindergarten communication of learning report. So all students will receive that final report.
That's great. And I'm assuming that all of those scheduled to graduate will still graduate from grade 12 moving forward, and then possibly, hopefully celebrate at a later date.
That's right. So when the government first announced the closure of Ontario schools, the Minister of Education said that no student would have their graduation jeopardized by the developments of COVID-19. So students on track to graduate will still be on track to graduate. And our high school graduation ceremonies in the Upper Grand, we've postponed those to the fall. And schools are in the process right now of selecting valedictorians and making plans to celebrate their graduating students in the fall, provided that it's safe to do so at that time.
So for those students who may have left things in their lockers thinking that they were coming back 2 weeks after March break, will they have that opportunity to go in and get any personal items?
Yeah, so this is one question that we've received quite a lot in the last few weeks. And we understand that there is that eagerness to get into schools to get student belongings. So up until this point, our schools have been restricted, our access has been restricted, and we've had very, very strict protocols for who can enter the building for essential needs. So now, though, that we have the confirmation from the ministry about the remainder of the school year, we have that permission where we can start that process of getting student belongings out of our schools. So our school board is rolling out a process that will allow for the safe retrieval of student belongings. Those procedures are being reviewed by public health to ensure that they adhere to the current pandemic guidelines around physical distancing, around gatherings. So we expect to have students receive their items from secondary schools the week of May 25th, and for parents to pick up items from elementary schools during the week of June 1st. So we're working really hard to ensure that our plans will allow for that retrieval of personal items while also adhering to the safety, social distancing requirements. So more information will come in the coming days and weeks on that, and that information will be coming to families directly from their school.
Okay. Another thing that Doug Ford mentioned in his announcement that he would be strengthening or steps would be put in place to strengthen the learning opportunities throughout the summer. Do we have details on that, or could you give us a kind of a broad overview of what that might entail?
Sure. So what we have right now, we know that there will be expanded summer learning opportunities, and that the focus of that summer learning will be on course upgrading and credit accumulation for students in grades 9 to 12. There will be opportunities for grade 8 students to sort of reach ahead by taking high school courses this summer. And there will also be expanded opportunities for students with special education needs and mental health needs. So while we don't have all of the details from the ministry on this yet, so our staff are working away on this, and so there will be more to come from the school board on what summer learning will look like in our region in the coming weeks.
So moving forward, and I know you probably can't give me an exact answer, obviously, because everything will depend apparently on depend on the situation at the time. But what do we feel that the new normal will be for the school year starting in September? Any ideas?
So that's a tough question. I think that we know that it's not going to look exactly the same as what we're used to. When the province made the decision to close Ontario schools and then to also keep them closed for the rest of the school year, the primary concern was safety. So we expect that in the fall, safety will continue to be that primary concern and that lens that we look through as we look to reopen our school buildings to students. So this week, the province announced an outline of what's being considered for a restart in the fall. So they released a document called Ontario's Framework for Continued Learning. It outlines a number of possibilities of what schools could look like in September. So, for example, there could be adaptations to classrooms with where people are sitting in classrooms, with the number of students in classrooms. There could be alterations to the school day structure and the rhythm of the school day. We expect there would be new cleaning protocols, changes to busing, and more. So staff from school boards and the ministry will be working very hard over the next few weeks and months to ensure that when schools do reopen, that there are numerous safety considerations put into place. So while there are still many unknowns, I think we can say in all likelihood that it won't look exactly what we're used to. That said, though, we will be resilient and we will get through it together.
Absolutely. And I think that everybody understands that we don't have all these answers now, and we don't know what's coming months ahead. Oftentimes we don't know what's coming a week from now, depending on the state of the country and the province and our local communities. So we do appreciate everything that everyone is doing to kind of work forward towards this, because I think our new normal for absolutely everything is going to change even slightly for most of the things that we were used to prior to the coronavirus and COVID-19 pandemic. So just a thought out of curiosity, do you think that e-learning may be a part of the new school year moving forward?
So it's tough to say exactly how things will look in September or in the fall. But one thing that the Minister of Education has stated is that depending on the situation with the pandemic, there may be a situation where some schools may need to remain closed in the fall, or there may need to be a plan put in place to open and close schools and to be flexible and move fluently between in-person learning and online learning, depending on the situation of the pandemic and the virus in the community. So we know that that's something that's a possibility, and the ministry has said that they will communicate further on this in the coming days or weeks.
And we do appreciate the fact that there's probably about 14 or 25 different contingency plans depending on what's happening. So are there special committees that work through the school board to kind of work through all the different possibilities in making these decisions?
Yes, so the school board, our school board itself, we have many committees that have been working for the last several months, everything from our access to schools, distance learning, access to technology. All of these plans will continue. Lots of collaboration between our operations team and our health and safety team, working in tandem with our public health partners. So all of that work will continue, and I imagine that those committees will continue to be quite busy as we work through these different contingency plans over the next few months. And again, a reason why now we have that date, that we know that it's not June that students will be going back. We have these weeks and months ahead of us now where we can really put those contingency plans into place.
And that makes perfect sense, because this has been a very fluid situation the whole time. And now that you know that, it makes perfect sense that you would have that time to kind of look at even anything that you may not have considered, or anything that may come up. So let's go back to the graduating students. I know one of their requirements normally is to have the 40 hours of community service. So I'm assuming that, that being said, that that's not available to them right now. So that's not something that will hold them back from graduating.
Right. So at the outset of the school closures, right at the beginning, the graduation requirement to complete 40 hours of community involvement, those hours, that was suspended for this school year. That said, graduating students are encouraged to complete their hours wherever possible, but only in circumstances where their health and safety can be assured. But we have had some students who've been volunteering to help in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. We also have students who've been, writing letter campaigns to seniors or participating in virtual volunteer opportunities. So all of those hours will continue to count for their community service hours.
Well, that is absolutely fantastic, and kudos to them for actually keeping up and being a part of the volunteer community during this crisis. And if anybody is looking for volunteer opportunities, you can visit Volunteer Dufferin, and I know they have student opportunities available there. If it's something that you're looking to do, either to fill your time or just to help in the community, or to accumulate your hours and keep moving forward. So with regards to yourself, what are you doing? I mean, you must be putting in lots of overtime and that sort of thing with this current situation, but what are you doing to just kind of sit back and relax and take some time for yourself these days?
Well, that's something that, like many of our families, that can be a bit of a struggle to find that balance, especially when work can be still quite busy, and just trying to get used to our new normal. But luckily, we can go outside as long as we're doing it in a safe way, and we can walk and be out in nature. We can run. So all of those things, like really, I find now with the weather getting nice too, as long as people are doing it in a respectful, physically distanced way, getting outside has been one of the best ways I've found personally to get through all of this.
And I think it's really important too. And I think, I've talked in many different segments about the fact of taking a break. When you're doing home learning, it's a very different situation from when you're in the classroom. So scheduling those breaks can be very important, and keeping your children focused on what they're doing and the work plan and what's going on, because it is important for them to continue the process until the end of June, so that they have, they're still working on their skills moving forward to a new grade next year.
Absolutely. Yeah, we know this hasn't been an easy time. We know students are missing their friends and their classmates and their teachers, but we really have to commend everyone for doing their part to not only stay engaged through the distance learning, but also to just stay home and help keep our communities safe, and just for doing the best that they can given the circumstances. And also, really want to thank the teachers and staff for their dedication, their creativity, and their compassion through all of this. It's been not like anything we've ever experienced, but it's really heartening to see people step up and rally together to keep our community safe.
Joining me now is Randy Mugford from In Memoriam Funeral Services. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So let's start off, Randy, by talking about the services that you provide or provided before the pandemic started.
Sure. I'm a licensed funeral home in the province of Ontario, just like any other funeral home in any other town. My concept is just a little bit different. I focus on cremation and providing a cost-effective service at top quality service at a reasonable price. It's about taking care of people, not about money. And our business has been open for about 7 years now. We have a consistent growth, and we are very honored to say that we've been able to serve people outside of Dufferin County as well as within Dufferin County in a very proper and manageable way.
Okay, great. And how has COVID-19 affected your business?
The main effect on our business is twofold. One is our being able to provide services for families where the gatherings are very limited or to no extent. Also where we handle and prepare bodies. We have enhanced sanitization, and we've enhanced all of our personal gear, protective measures to ensure that we are safe, my staff is safe, and the public's safe. As far as social gathering goes, I've been telling families that we've been serving, let's take care of your loved one first, either cremation or burial, and then let's celebrate a life properly. My standards of celebrating life may not be like a traditional funeral home where you do visitation 2 to 4, 7 till 9. A simple backyard barbecue, whatever a family finds fitting to celebrate a life, it's done their way. And they have the option of saying how we want things done. A lot of people I deal with just want to be taken care of and just something simple.
Absolutely. And I think the celebration of life has become more of the norm when we're dealing with grieving families and loss, versus the traditional, visitation and funeral service. There are still people that are doing that as well.
Yes.
Absolutely. So how has the government regulations changed with regards to your business?
Basically, what they've done for us right now is they've increased the response time, how we have to respond to a hospital and to a long-term care facility. Ideally, they would like to have us there within an hour at a local hospital. We are not allowed to go into the facility. We have to meet at the receiving doors. Staff will then take our stretcher and place the individual on the stretcher. Same with the long-term care. We have been having to train their staff on how to use our stretchers and things because they're not familiar with what we do on a daily basis. With that being said, I've got 30 years doing this, and I'm not used to somebody else taking my stretcher from me and doing what I always do because that was my job. So that's been a learning curve for us, but it does keep us safe. And as far as paperwork goes, we could wait anywhere from a couple hours to a whole day to wait for a medical certificate of death before a body is released. Now it's been expedited. So that side of things has allowed us to take care of families in an expedited manner and ensure they're taken care of properly. Most doctors will wait to finish their files for the people that they're seeing that are still with us. And the person that has passed away is usually the final bit of paperwork they come to. So we're usually in that waiting process. This time, we're coming first. The families that we're serving are coming first in the hospitals, which is very nice to see.
And I think it's very comforting, too, for families to see things processed quickly and because it's such a hard time to begin with. So yes. I think that definitely is an advantage, I guess, under the circumstances, right?
Yes, it is a little bit of a silver lining because when we come in as a funeral home, we come in, we take the individual and we leave, and families don't know what goes on behind the scenes. So when we're able to explain to them how the process works, it gives them a bit of peace of mind, a bit of comfort, knowing that everything's going to be taken care of smoothly and properly, and their loved ones put first, which is kind of nice.
And I think this has got to be a very difficult time as well when you're dealing with families because you don't have that in the same room contact with them. How is that working? How is that changing?
I find the families that I've talked to are having an increased stress level because they're only allowing one person in the room for someone that's palliative. Hospices, for instance, will only let the closest family member in. Families are looking through a window saying goodbye, talking on their talking through screens in the windows, whatever they can do to say their final goodbyes. It is just a different way of dealing with things, even how I do arrangements. We usually sit down with a family, have coffee and tea, and explain the options and how things work. Now I'm meeting families in parking lots, and we're signing paperwork outside, or we're doing things via the internet, to the point where our online service has been increasing dramatically because it's ease and it protects families and protects our staff. So those are measures that my part of my business has been increasing because of COVID.
Yeah, I mean, that's understandably so because although they are dealing with loss of a loved one, we want to keep the rest of the family safe and your staff, your family safe as well. Yes. So it's understandable that is. And I think people are very understanding to that because it's just the way that it has to be right now. We don't have a lot of control over that. Yeah. Have you had many COVID-19 cases coming through your facility?
Currently, we've had about 18 cases. Majority of those were tested positive. Some were questionable because the time of death may have been where they've been in the middle of the testing process. But as of right now, our number is at 18, and those people are from Dufferin County, some from Peel, Simcoe. Because our service is widespread, we do get contact with families from outside of our area.
And are people I mean, I know the social gathering limit, the protocols are for no more than 5 people. Are people doing small ceremonies or small services?
We will have families do a small service, but I'd be very honest with them saying, you don't need to spend financial means right now to celebrate a life at this time. The nice thing about cremation or a direct burial is that the family have time to deal with the passing of the individual, start their grieving process, do the legal paperwork, and then celebrate a life when they have the opportunity to. That's done right, whether it be a backyard barbecue, but whether it be a full traditional service. There is a bit of a silver lining here where people are almost forced to think about how they want to celebrate that life that they've lost. And they start their grieving process and they take care of the burden of paperwork, which is a huge process of our business that people don't understand until they're sitting across the desk from me and I explain to them what needs to be done.
Yeah, and I think that and before the pandemic hit, this whole process, it is so overwhelming for families to deal with the loss and deal with the paperwork and deal with the thoughts of how we want to do this, that this added extra time allows you to really plan out for a nice celebration of life. Where you can have all of your family together once all of these protocols are lifted and we're allowed to have gatherings.
Exactly. We probably have about 30 families now that we are going to be doing services for in the future. When that future is, I don't know right now. Our governing body, Bereavement Authority of Ontario, will dictate when we can start doing full open services. But I've been in contact with families that we're guiding them through, and they're doing everything from videos to making custom cards to signage to doing things that would never have been done if we had a 3-day window of the traditional process. So it allows families, and the feedback I'm getting is it's tough, but they see the benefit to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there are ways to celebrate, I guess, virtually with people, but it's not the same as having everybody around you.
That's right. We have the capability of doing a virtual service. People that we've offered it to have actually declined because they want to have that personal connection. They want to be here. They want to be in the atmosphere of saying goodbye to their loved one, having a cold beer or raising a glass of wine to the person that they've lost means more than sitting in front of the computer screen and spending a few minutes of not just being there because they think they have to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it is a good way for families to connect with each other, but maybe not, as an official service or celebration.
Yeah. We actually have had families do a virtual service just themselves. And they've had a little thing where, this is just for the family. And in the future, we'll do a public service. Yeah.
So moving forward, when we're on the other side of the pandemic, what do you feel will be the new normal for your industry?
I hope the new normal will be the expedited paperwork. I find as myself as a funeral director, most funeral directors will understand that the process of the paperwork getting into our hands so we can take care of a family properly has increased 1,000,000 times over from what it has in the past. Our working relationships with the coroner's office, with local hospitals, nursing staff has been dramatically increased. We have created a bond and a more of a respect for each other in terms of what we do. For instance, my wife is working frontline at the 10th up at Headwaters. So she does the testing up there and I'm kind of on the other end. So we see both sides of the spectrum as far as taking care of families during COVID.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that dealing with the stress that you deal with before this and the mounted stress because people don't know what to expect and what's happening, and the immediate thought is, oh my goodness, we can't have a service, we can't have a funeral, we can't do that right now. It's got to compound that stress on top of it. And I think what you're doing and working with the families is a wonderful thing for them, because I think they will truly appreciate waiting to have their celebrations of life and their services until a later.
There's always, sorry?
Go ahead.
Oh, there's always been a bit of an unknown as far as funerals go to the general public. So by us telling them how things work and what their options are, they dictate how we serve them. So if they want us to, celebrate with Pink Floyd or country music, or, they're our boss. They're the ones that tell me what they want. I just provide the service.
So in this crazy time that we're living in, and what are you doing to keep sane? Well,
I've tried everything I can. I try to keep active, spend time with my girls. My girls are my life. I've got 3 daughters. They mean the world to me. And now with them not in school, they can come to work with dad a little bit and do some cleaning, which is very kind of nice. But they're everything, and it's a great opportunity. And I believe that COVID, in a strange way, has brought us closer together as a family, simply because we're tired of watching TV. We're tired of our phones. Let's just do something silly, what families should be doing. So I find that as a huge silver lining to making us a better person.
Absolutely. I'll say my husband and I were just talking about our kids and how much closer we are because we're spending all this time together and trying not to spend every minute in front of the TV. And if we are, try to change up what you happen to be watching or whatever happens to be. Whether my husband and I were looking at old 1980s rock videos when, they just, remembering things from the past and just kind of laugh at, whatever happens.
It's about enjoying life, and it doesn't have to be spectacular. It can just be something very simple and something that you haven't done for a long time just because we weren't able to in the world that we were in. Now we have the opportunity, so take advantage of it. And that's the same thing when it comes to funerals. Do what you have to do now. Celebrate a life properly when you have the opportunity, and let no one dictate how you say goodbye to your loved one. It's how they want to be remembered and how you want to remember them.
Those are good words of advice. And Randy, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of this information.
Thank you very much. It's been a great honor, and everyone, please be safe.
So let's start off by talking about how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected your business.
So quite a bit. From, full house almost every day to literally almost nothing in the beginning because everybody was in shock. Everybody, we're all scared, obviously. So going down to 10% literally of what sales were, right? And yeah, you don't know what the tomorrow brings or anything. So yeah, from that, we had to come up with a lot of new ideas how to stay in business, right? So we became the Nifty Nook restaurant and general store.
Well, that's amazing. And I think that for many of us, we've had to kind of reinvent how we do business. And so many industries have been hit hard and so many people are home and not working and no income is coming in and that sort of thing. So in the beginning, it was a very stressful time. And for those of us who are business owners, it was a matter of like, how can we still do business? Especially in your industry, right? When you're talking about food service in a restaurant, you need people to come in and you need them to be close.
Oh yes, definitely. The one thing I saw right from the beginning was the anxiety levels that people had, and that's what made us turn into a general store and pick up more stuff and sell what we have, what we can sell, and still provide food for people. Was seeing people coming in and literally crying and saying, thank you for doing this. I don't want to go into the grocery store. I don't want to go into Walmart. I don't want to go, it's just, you don't realize how everybody's so different, right? So thank goodness I get to go to one or two or three suppliers. I generally don't go to the grocery stores now at all. I might go to one or two, but I try and stay away as well because I can get everything at one place. And that's when all these ideas started coming, okay, we can help these people, and at a reasonable price. I don't get pricing like Walmart or the big shopping stores. Like, people need to understand that. But I try and do what I can. I look for the better price, but I look for the better quality as well. And I do have a great supplier that literally is at the food terminal every day. So I know everything is fresh. All my fruit and vegetables, even before this, I would go and buy them myself anyway. I'm very particular when it comes to stuff like that. And my theory is, if I'm not going to serve it to my own family, I'm not going to serve it to my customers.
Well, that is an amazing policy to have, and we truly do appreciate it. So let's talk about the general store and the types of items that you have and how it changes and what you've brought in.
So it started with flour and yeast. Everybody looking, and I found it at the supplier. Like, well, I'll pick a couple of bags up for people that need it. Well, one bag turned into five turned into 25. And it just went from there. Oh, and then people started asking, do you have this? Do you have that? Like, I can get it. So, now we have an array of stuff. So you can get pasta, you can get tomato sauce, you can get milk, you can get your eggs, your fruit and vegetables. We have meat, ground beef that everybody's looking for, steaks. What else? Hand sanitizer. I try and get wipes whenever I can. They're out there. I don't gouge. I just want my money back. Whatever I pay for it, it's yours. Because I think that's important, that everyone has to have, especially people that have high risk people in their homes. So we have hand sanitizer by the jug. I tell people, and I post it, bring in your bottles. I'll fill it up for $3, $4, whatever, for an 8-ounce bottle. That's what it costs me. That's what you'll pay for it at my place. It's things that I don't want to be making money on, but I want people to stay safe. And that's how it escalated. And I've literally become a general store. My husband loves Little House on the Prairie. And I said to him, we've turned into Mr. and Mrs. What was that? The Little House on the Prairie. Yeah. Nels and Mrs. Can't remember now.
Was it Olsen?
Olsen. Yeah, we've become the Olsens.
Well, you know what?
I didn't have the ponytail.
That's a wonderful thing, and being able to provide it. And I think that one of the great advantages to buying products from you would be that you don't have to walk around a grocery store. So not only is it stopping people from going to the grocery stores, which are great, they have a lot of things set up, but there are a lot of people that are not comfortable going to the grocery store. So this allows them to pick up some produce, some meat, a few things here and there that they need. So let's talk about how people find these products. Do they order them through Facebook? Do they order them online? What happens?
So I post every day, everything I have. Pretty much I try because there's a lot of things. And I tell people, if you're looking for it and I haven't posted it, please message me, private message me, call the restaurant. And we try and get back to everybody right away. Because, by chance, I will have it. I pick up everything. But if I don't, I'm at the supplier literally every day. I'm in Toronto right now at my son's restaurant just to see my son, and I'm hitting 2 suppliers today. My fruit and vegetables are literally every single day, fresh. And that's the thing. And I will deliver. I have no problem with delivering. There's a lot of people that don't want to come out of their house, or they're self-isolating or something. I deliver at no charge. I've gone right up to Shelburne, Mulmer, down to Caledon. I've delivered to Brampton. It's something that I think needs to be done. People have to respect other people's fear, and that's the thing. It's, it's the unknown of what's going to happen when I go out, and, you try and help them out a little bit. It's okay to help.
And so you're still doing takeout of from your regular menu items, I believe,
Yeah,
as well.
full menu. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there, with regards to COVID-19, did the government put any protocols on food service and how it's prepared and how this works through COVID-19? Or is it still status quo, the way we were preparing before? And just a matter of pickup and delivery versus
Yeah,
going in?
well, they just, I mean, keep your kitchen clean, always wash your hands, which we were doing this all prior. We all wear gloves at the restaurant, constantly changing when you're in the back. Like we have sections obviously in the kitchen. Okay. When you're going to cook something, I have colored gloves, right? So this is for the kitchen. This is for prepping. This is for handling food with the customer. And I have masks. If the customer doesn't, if my employees don't feel comfortable, by all means, we have masks, use it. But nobody's allowed to be in if they think they have a cold or, go home. If they've traveled, again, it should apply to everybody, that they have to understand this. If you think it's allergies, just stay home for a couple of days and see if it's allergies. If it's not, then, you have to quarantine yourself. We're not going to put anybody's life at risk because we're at risk too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So with everything that you've been doing with regards to the general store, you've also been doing a little bit more for the community. I've seen many, many different posts of people thanking you for creating meals and groceries and whatnot for people who don't have the financial means right now.
Yeah.
Can you tell
We've so it started with one gentleman, which broke my heart. It was before a couple of weeks. I think we were 1 week or 2 weeks into it. It was a single mom with her kids and one gentleman. He was a senior, out of food. He was blind, so he's at high risk to begin with. So I made him a bunch of food, and broke my heart because I asked him what his favorite food was, and he said, "I'm a senior, I live alone, and I'm blind. So my food literally comes out of a can and into a microwave." Yeah, I was literally in tears when I got home. I was so upset. I'm like, nobody should live like this. We live in Canada, first of all, and I believe we should be taking care of our own here before we take care of anybody else. Those are my strongest beliefs for our country, and it makes me angry otherwise. So I got this gentleman a bunch of food made plus more, and I said to him, "You don't have to worry anymore. As long as I'm taking care of you, you're gonna have lots of food." And I always surprise him. He's like, "Stop," and the mom as well. So she's got 2 little kids. She's single. She doesn't have a way to get to a grocery store. She doesn't want to take the kids out. So she also posted, and I went, and now people are just getting back to me, and I don't ask questions. I just head out with food, a couple of grocery bags full of stuff, and just ask if there's any allergies, and I'll try and work around it. Again, I ask no questions, and I'm very happy to help. Very happy. It comes out of my own pocket. I've had people come and just give me money off the street, and they thank me for everything I'm doing, which I'm really happy that that people acknowledge that. Like, I'm like, wow, people noticed. I don't think they notice because I don't post it every day, but thank you for everybody that has supported me. It really does help. It and brings me up, so
Yeah.
Just to help more.
So moving forward, when we get to our new normal, how do you think that's going to affect the food industry?
I really can't say because everything's so new now, right? I mean, everybody's looking forward to getting out, and I'm like, just to have a cup of coffee with a friend, and a piece of pie. I'm making pies now. So, I'm like, let's just all get together and have a piece of pie. Like, I really don't know. I think it'll be a 50-50 split. I think the people that are more afraid are going to watch in the sidelines and see, and the rest will start coming, and the rest will start slowly, like going into a dark room and not knowing what to expect. But it's also into, like, for us to protect everybody. Make sure you got the hand sanitizer, make sure you are disinfecting everything, make sure the washrooms the door handles are getting done, the washroom handles are getting done, the little things that need to be extra looked at.
Yeah,
it's the little extras.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know you have extraordinary cleaning measures already, but now taking those extra steps to make sure that it's done a little bit more often,
Yes.
to keep all of us safe when we're coming in the restaurant as well. And I have seen pictures of your banana and coconut cream pie, and let me tell you, you have to get one of those very soon.
I'll bring one over to you, Tina. No problem. I've been literally, I don't know. My kids are like, when did you get into baking? I go, I don't know. I looked at the recipe. I thought it was easy and it looked good. I go, I made it. We tried it. A couple of people tried it. They're like, oh, so yeah, I've been at the restaurant till like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning making pies. Like the last 3-4 nights, I'm like, how did I get into this? So I do it to myself and I'm enjoying it. So, that's the one thing. I said to a lady, she posted her bagels. She's like, is your yeast or flour on steroids? Look at these bagels. I go, no, it's because I sell everything with love. And what I make is always with love. So it makes a big difference when you love stuff, what you're doing. Thank you very much for having me. I want to thank everybody who's supporting us. I want to thank everybody who is planning to support us because, everybody, but I love everybody. This town is amazing. This town is amazing. And you know what? That's what makes me do what I do even more. So thank you to everybody and stay safe. And soon enough, we'll all give hugs. I'll be waiting at the door for big, big hugs.